Welcome back, and the next stage of the micro gentle lady build is the wings. So first thing is, I'm just going to read from the instructions because this is quite important, just in case you're just following this and not the actual instructions. It says here, although the wings are built directly over the plans, humidity and or lack of can cause the plans to shrink or stretch. This can make the parts appear not to fit exactly. Not to worry, the parts are self-jigging and will end up in the right place. Use the plans as a reference to keep the ribs straight, but don't fret if the parts don't match the plans exactly. I just thought we'd get that out of the way. Now, I have cut down a little bit of the foam board to the appropriate size. I thought there was no point in having a massive thing here, and also the whole thing being white was really messing up the camera. So I've cut down the foam board. Obviously we ironed out the plan, and I've now just sellotaped the plan onto the foam board. Now you can cover this in snap wrap if you wanted to, but I've got to be honest with you, it's a bit fiddly. If you've got any thin plastic sheet, you could put that over and sellotape it down. But looking through and reading through the instructions, there doesn't appear to be a lot of gluing onto the actual plans. So I'm going to go with the same method that I use for the Angel Wings Pug, and that is a candle tea light. Now, just be careful if you're copying me exactly and using the foam board. You don't want to rub too heavily because you will damage the foam board underneath. Now, I'm just lightly giving this a rub, and also to note, we are making the right wing first, and then we're going to go on to the left wing. So I've just covered all of that. And a quick look down will tell me whether it's covered or not. Yep, that looks sweet. So let's crack on. Righty ho, so the first bits you're going to need, we're going to be building the whole of the right wing. You are going to need this trailing edge, and it's identifiable because it's got this little cutout around it. We are also going to need the smaller of these two sheets. You'll notice that there's a longer sheet and a shorter sheet. We need one of those, so we need one of these, and then also we're going to need to cut out one of these spars here. Not this spar, that's for the wing tip. We're looking for this for the main spar. So we need one of these, one of those, and we need to cut those out and clean them up and make sure we've got no little the little laser burn nuggets on them. Okay, so we have the trailing edge, the spar, not glued at the moment. It's just so, little tip there, you see this little notch here? That's to allow the fact that it's going to sit on top of the sheeting. All I've done at the moment is I've pinned the trailing edge, the smaller of the sheets, and the spar is just sitting on the top. The other things we're going to need 2 ribs called R1, and we're going to need 4 ribs called R2. So you want 4 of these R2s and 2 of the R1s, and what you really want to do is make sure that you just go around. Now there's a classic example, we've got that little bit of there where the laser is just finished, and I'm just going to make sure I've just taken that off. Make sure these are all nice and smooth, because obviously this is forming the aerodynamic shape, and these have to be nice. So just clean them all up. And the other thing you need to look out is this. This one has R written on it. There's another one that has M written on it. At the moment we're using the one that says R. And we'll go to the next stage, which is going to be, we're going to get our first rib 1, and I'm just going to drop it onto that spar like so. And the idea of the R, this is going to sit on the bench like so, and that is going to give us our angle, because what's going to happen is we need the wings are going to have a very, very slight dihedral to them, and so that's dropping onto there like so. When I've got that in position, I'm not gluing it to start off with. Then we're going to put the second one on in place. I'm going to get that all sorted. When I'm happy with that position, then I'm just going to tack glue those in place. Then the next step is we're going to add a rib there, we're going to add a rib there, and then we're going to add a rib there, and then the final rib drops in here like so. Now this is where we're going to need the second of these, and that is the one that says, this one says R. We then want the one that says M, because the M is for what's known as midsection. So the midsection one is going to go like that, like so there, and that is going to make sure that that rib has got a slight angle back slightly to accommodate to the fact that we've got one wing like so, and the other wing is going to be like this. So we're adding a little bit of dihedral that's preset into the ribs. The second one on this panel will have the same. I hope I've explained myself. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jig R1, the two R1s. I'm going to get all the R2s in place. When I'm happy and I've got it all jigged together, then I'm just going to literally tack it with a bit of glue. Right, okay, so I've got my R template, my M template, I've got all my ribs in place. Now what I've done is I've just applied some glue to the sides. Don't put any glue on top. I've also run a fillet down here, fillet here, fillet of glue along there and along there, here and here. I'm going to add some more glue to these corners in a moment. Now the next thing we're going to need is just a sheet of the leading edge, and the leading edge you can find on this piece of balsa here, and we're looking for this one there. So this one is your outer panel, this one here is the inner panel, so we would need one of those cleaned up, and that is going to fit on the front like so, but I will show you. Okay, top tip, I've now removed and cleaned up this leading edge. You'll note it says R on it, and it has a very, very slight angle to it. That's because it's already tapered to suit the angle, so that is going to fit onto there. I'm going to get that in place. I'm not going to pin it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get some pins, and I'm actually going to pressure fit it. So I'm going to put some pins in the front of it like so, just to apply enough pressure. We don't want to be, because it's obviously leading edge, we don't want to be putting pins through it, so I'm just going to put some pins in front of it, force it onto the ribs. When I'm happy with it all, I'm just going to tack it. So thought I'd just quickly show you this. That's the leading edge added. Now all these pins you see, they're not through the leading edge. What I've done is I've pushed the leading edge up against each rib and then pushed that pin just to hold it in place. And then what I've done is I've gone round very gently and super glued all these joints. I'm just going to give it a good 10 minutes just for it all to bed in and cure. Right, so the final bit for this wing is this sheeting. Can you see this has got this little half circle cutout? That's going to go in there. Now I've got to remove these couple of pins, so finger either side, lift the pin off. Even a finger next to it, lift the pin off, because what you're doing is, if there's happened to be a little bit of glue, you might end up tearing the whole wing off. So whenever you're removing pins, always put your finger either side to remove off. Now, so all we've got to do now is get this in place, that's going to super glue onto there. Now, okay, so I've now added the top sheet. What I actually did was I just put a little bit of glue along to about here, either side, got it in place, set it down, and then I added the rest of the glue further along. Now, so again, support the pins with your fingers if you can. Pop that out like so, pop that out like so. Now, little tip, if you find that your wing is stuck to the bench, don't panic. What you actually need to do is get yourself a slightly longer blade. Now I've got a little bit there that I know already which is sticking, so just gently slide it underneath and then just work it up and down. I've obviously gone a bit over the top with the super glue. There you go. And that one there, I'm just gonna, there you go. Right, now then, and then just there, oh, there we go, pin. Got a little bit, that will sand off lovely. So that's the first part of the wing. Put this on, let me put this away safely, and then we're now going to the outer wing panel. The outer wing section, the right side. So you're going to need to cut out and remove another R2, R3, R4, R5 and R6. You want this tapering main spar, the smaller trailing edge, which you'll be able to match up with all the plans, and also this leading edge. But note that this leading edge has a taper, has an angle cut to it. That's to allow to the fact that it's going to have some dihedral. So just make sure you get that in its right position, because that will match the same angle as that. And this is your M template. So just make sure when you put your template on that your leading edge matches it like so. So what I'm going to do, in the same style as before, I'm going to get these in place. Make sure I've got the tapers. Remember, the thick section goes to the middle. I'm then going to put this in place. I'm then going to add all the ribs when I'm happy. I'm then going to tack that all in place, making sure that I use the M on the rib 2, and then I'm going to add, we're going to add the leading edge. Outer wing is now finished on the right hand side. You can see how I've braced this main spar either side, but I've not actually put, as I say with the main one, I've not put pins through it. Now, little tip here before you start, you'll notice that this is the main spar for the other side, and it's worth noting that the actual slots for the rib to go in are actually angled. So it's very easy to get the wrong spar, so that if I use that spar, what will actually happen is, if we put it there like that, I'm just showing you this like this, it will actually be wrong. So just make sure you've got your angles right. So the angle should be going to the, so on the right hand side it should be pointing towards the front of the aircraft, or pointing towards the nose, and on the left side the same, going in that way. So you're looking for the angles to go that way. Just a little tip, because you could end up making a mistake with that and not realising, although when you put it over the plans like so, it becomes fairly obvious. I thought I'd point that out. So that's now all glued. My leading edges are all glued. I'm just going to give that 5 or 6 minutes. Nearly finished the wing. Tip. Next thing you're going to need to do is cut 2 of these out. We're going to cut these out, we're going to glue these together, and they're going to finish on there. So I have removed the outer wing off the plan. Now what you want to do is, the plan is, I've taken 2 of these out, I've given them a little bit of a sand, particularly this, to make sure it's square. Now again, you want to glue 2 of these together, but remember, just try and do all your gluing in the middle. The reason being is we're going to glue these two together. When they're glued together, these are going to be stuck to here. Now, what we want to do is, if you've got a sanding block, brilliant. But what we want to try and do is just make sure that this has got no edges sticking out. So you notice I'm just gently just wiping that up and down. You can do exactly the same with this. Just be nice and careful. Now, all we're going to do is with those glued together, like so, they are going to be stuck to there. And then what will happen is, afterwards, when we come to doing the sanding, I will show you how to sand these up. There you go, a little bit of sacrificial tape. I applied the glue to the end of the wing and then just slid the wingtip block up to it, supporting it here and holding it in place. Now that is now done, ready for sanding. So that is going to go with the other panel. That's going to go on there like so. That will be glued on there, but we're going to be doing that later. So these, if you can, try and store these somewhere so they're flat. But that is the inner outer wings done. They're now ready for sanding. All we have to do is do exactly the same on the left side, follow exactly the same instructions, and just remembering to use the root angle, midsection angle, and we're ready for sanding.